Hi friends, today I wanted to talk about my thoughts regarding the emotional aspect of change in the workplace. More specifically, I guess, the anger and fear people may have when they feel that their work is threatened in the sense of the way it's being done is going to be changed. And I guess for me, I just kind of wanted to break it down a bit and just think about what are the parts that I think uh, could be focused on to potentially help implement change in the future, and what I want to do in the future or now, where possible, maybe. And I guess my thoughts initially were, okay, what is it that makes people angry or feel fear? And for me, firstly, just anger. The base of anger, I think, is fear, and people are afraid, so they lash out or they kind of warp the emotion into anger to hide or cover their fear. Is how I interpret anger. But then, what is fear? And for me, fear is the lack of knowledge, of not knowing something. And I think that is the basis for fear. For example, at least for me, like horror movies, it's always scary in the beginning because you don't know anything. And of course, there's the scary jump music, which I hate. But, anyways, but by the end of the movie, once you figured out the plot line or the backstory of whatever's scary, it's not that scary anymore, or sometimes you even feel bad for the ghost or whatever. But you know, I feel like that's what fear is, just the lack of not knowing. I don't know if that was a good example. I guess another example could be like, let's say a parent is afraid of letting go of their child, go free into the world. They're afraid because their kid is so precious to them and they don't know what would happen. They don't know if they're going to be all right. They don't know. And so, again, it's a lack of not knowing. At least for me, that's what fear is at the basis. In which case, people who are feeling anger and fear in the workplace when their work's changing, you could argue, I guess, that they're afraid because they don't know what's going to happen with the new work style. It could be that they're afraid that they won't be able to do it. They're afraid that they might get fired or something, or because the work is going to get smaller. I don't know. Just not knowing. So being able to kind of explain, I think, is important first step for change. And of course, that's really obvious, I know, but I feel like there's another part to the fear which I was trying to break down in my mind earlier today, and I think it's a lack of confidence in oneself also that kind of leads to fear. Although the lack in self-confidence, you could also argue, is fear because you don't know your own capabilities. You don't know if you'll be okay with the change. You don't know if others will accept you, and so that's why you become afraid with the lack of self-confidence. So you could argue that it's all connected, but sometimes I feel the lack of confidence could also have more emotional root. Someone could have some traumatic past, maybe, that kind of creates a barrier or wall, emotional wall within the brain that prevents people from kind of realizing these biases or blocks within themselves, that also prevents them from kind of getting used to change, or being able to be confident in yourself. And I guess Uh, I mean, I could say I have personal experience, but anyway, regardless of that, I think that that could also be an issue, that just having enough information being shared not be enough for the individual to be able to gain the confidence to approach change, maybe, or face that fear. And of course, a company can't, fix that level of maybe emotional blockage. I don't know. Maybe you could argue that it's not their job as a company to kind of fix that. But at the same time, I feel like for me, what I want to do is, even if I'm unable to fix that, I want to create an environment where there's this psychological safety, enough of it to kind of allow people who want to try to gain self-confidence and be able to approach change, be able to do that. And I think that comes with the culture, and some of it there might need to be some hand holding to some extent, but maybe there's a way to do that within the work environment through support or operation style, or just having that culture of kind of assuming that people may not know. I know it's not a good thing maybe to have a culture that people should assume others don't know, because to some extent I think it's important for people to kind of work on having a common knowledge and skill set to be able to communicate and work faster without having to explain every single detail every single time. That's not ideal if you have to do that, but at the same time, I think it's okay to have a culture where it's not scary to ask questions. And this kind of culture, sure, it's probably not applicable for super, high skilled consulting tech firms who are, looking for the best only. But in a company like mine, where, there may not be the highest level people in the world, where it's a culture where you kind of have to support the people. It's not you don't just fire people. I think I mentioned previously, but there's a culture of lifetime employment in my company. So there are some who join the company assuming they're going to be working there for the rest of their life, and they've already been working for 20, 30 years. You kind of have to work with what you have and learn to grow that. And so I feel that in that case, it may be okay to find ways to implement almost emotional safety net, I don't know what you would call it, within the work environment, that would become a foundation base for people to be able to kind of stand upon to grow and learn faster. Because I know that sometimes just throwing educational opportunities or support may not be enough if people aren't interested in it, or they'll just take it but they won't be able to connect it to something that would drive them to grow even more from it. They would just take it in, and then that would be their new like safety standard. So I think that tackling some of these kind of emotional aspects of the employees, to give them the confidence to try to stretch out more, may be an interesting idea for a company like mine. Now, I'm sure there are many companies that have similar support, maybe, or culture. So I guess for me, I'll just have to go out and find those to kind of piece together my own, get some ideas and piece together my own for this company. But yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking about today, although I think I thought about it even more while talking. Anyways, again, thanks for listening, and I'll catch you guys up with more stuff in the next video. Ciao.